Welcome back to From Day One. The overnight session is with us. Art Bell and the special Dead Air Halloween episode is with us. When we last left, they had just heard a spooky voice in the night say, "I'm there." That's where we pick up with Art Bell and his guest. This aired originally October 30th, 2015.
And the thing that's so unique about this voice is every recorder, no matter where it was located at that time, picked it up just as loud. It was loud.
So do we theorize, because you don't hear these with your ear, right?
That's correct. Majority of the time you don't.
So then the majority of the time, so every now and then?
Every now and then it happens. Yeah, it happens, but
I see.
Not very often.
So I wonder, do we imagine that they use electromagnetic energy to project these voices into the microphone or the device itself?
I have no idea how they do it.
Yeah, I understand.
I don't.
All right. Number 11.
You're going to hear Barry and Brendan. This is still at the Rollins prison. They were walking into the solitary confinement area, and they hear Roger talking in another section of the building. And Brendan asks Roger, you're gonna hear Brendan ask Brendan asks Barry, who's Roger talking with? Who's he with? And Barry responds sarcastically, he could be talking to somebody and have nobody with him. and the voice that recorded, it sounds, it's upset, and it says, "You lose again, coward."
Really? Okay, here we go.
Who's Roger with then? Who's talking to somebody? Who did you talk to somebody in your show?
Coward. That sounded like, I would say, a woman's voice, yes?
Yes, and they had a woman's section, a woman's prison there in that prison. They had a small section.
I understand. Okay, that explains it, I guess. You did tend to go to a lot of, prisons, and did you go to hospitals?
We tried. In fact, there was one that was being torn down, and I thought it would be an excellent place to go because I'd had so many employees of that hospital and patients of that hospital tell me how they had seen a woman in red in the original intensive care area. And so I waited until they relocated all the patients and all the machines and all their stuff out of the hospital, and I had approached the members of their board of directors if we could conduct an investigation there before it was torn down.
I would imagine in years past it would have been easier. All the attention now to the paranormal, TV shows, radio shows, investigators crawling all over the place. Yeah, exactly. It was a lot of years ago before people were really doing this much of it, because now I'm sure there's a lot of no's that are given out.
Well, yeah, they would not let me do it, even though it was being torn down.
Do you believe, Barbara, that the collection that we're hearing tonight, and so many more, so many more, are evidence, absolute evidence of people who have died?
To me, it is. I don't know how else, how it could be explained any other way. To me, I have no doubt about life continuing. Your body, you might be dead, but you continue.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do another one, if we dare. I believe this would be number 13.
No, this is 12.
This is 12. Okay, there you go. I'm wrong. Sorry about that.
That's okay. You're going to hear hear Brendan, he's talking to the prison director, and you will hear her ask him, what do you do with it? And she's referring to CDs that he had made for her while we had been at the prison previously.
Okay.
And he responds and he says, I've got it because I make backups of all of them. And a voice joins the conversation and says, I have to go now, I'm dead.
Oh, my. Okay, here we go.
I still got it, because I make backups of all of them. I have to go now. I have to go now. I have to go now.
That one is shockingly clear, I'm afraid. There may be some people who have a problem with it, but I'm not one of them. I have to go now. I'm dead. One more time. I've got to do this again.
I still got it, because I make backups of all of them. I have to go now. I have to go now. I have to go now.
That's just totally too creepy. I'm glad I didn't, and I almost skipped it. Good Lord. So I have to go now. I'm dead. I guess they get dizzy on the other side. Actually, even though that was horribly creepy, it would suggest that, I don't know, maybe he's headed to a gin rummy game, or I'm trying to think the best here. Or some activity that they have over on the other side. I have to go now. I'm dead. Catch you later.
I don't know.
I'm going to ask you in a little while if you've ever, I don't know, discerned something about what's on the other side, what awaits us. This is Dead Air.
And of course, when the musical bumper is done, we'll return.
Dead Air. To reach midnight in the desert via Skype worldwide. If on a computer, please be sure to use a headphone mic and call MITD 51. That's MITD 51.
And so it continues. Good evening, everybody. I'm Art Bell, and this is Dead Air. Indeed, mid-warning, this is rough stuff. You're hearing the voices of the dead. That's right, the voices of the dead. This is the GIS that has done the work for you over many, many years and thousands of hours of recording, transporting themselves to locations where they thought they could get things and getting them. And here is, once again, Barbara Macbeth. Barbara, welcome back.
Thank you.
Let's do a couple and then a couple of ghost stories. We're sort of just jumping all over the place tonight, so I'm taking it. I hope you're keeping track with me. I would think the next one would be 13.
You're right.
Okay, good. Good, for once.
This is a private residence, and you'll hear Brendan say, I tell you what, it is hot in this house. And he recorded this voice, and I don't know what it was referring to, but it says, she didn't put it down.
Put it down. All right, here we go.
I tell you what, it is hot in this house. She didn't put it down. She didn't put it down. She didn't put it down.
All right, I have an observation about that one right away. And that is, not only is it clear, but it's almost too clear. I mean, it's almost like, somebody was in the room actually saying that. Of course, we have no idea what it means, and I trust you implicitly, Barb, but if I didn't know better, I'd say that's, like somebody in the room. That's how clear it is, although there is a certain sound that comes with it that's a little bit unnerving, huh?
Yes, and the difference I think that you're hearing is Brendan used a condensed microphone, and it was recorded into his computer.
Ah, okay. That would explain it, but a good one. Oh, a good one.
I tell you what, it is hot in this house.
So she didn't put it down, but there's no way to know what that means, huh?
No, I mean it wasn't. It's what it's saying isn't relating to anything that was being said or done at that time.
Barbara, you do this, but how do you sleep at night?
I sleep very well.
You do, huh?
Oh yes. This doesn't scare me. I find it very fascinating. People that have witnessed ghosts, like a full apparition,
yes.
I feel like they are very fortunate, and I feel like we have been very fortunate that we have recorded so many voices that they have talked to us, like what they have done.
Did you hear the opening story? It was from Heather, actually.
Yes.
Oh my, that's called Up Close with an Apparition.
Yes, and she's very fortunate to have experienced that, because there are so many people, especially people that research it, and all the ghost investigators that are out there now.
Mm-hmm.
They would love to experience something like that. They would give anything to experience that.
I guess that would be true of ghost investigators, but it would not be true of me. That tells you why I'm not a ghost investigator. Just hearing these voices puts a chill down my spine, and I guess we might as well do the next one, though I'm almost hesitant. Tell me about it.
This was in the same, in fact, it was the same day, and Brendan recorded this in the same house. He says, "Is anyone here? Does anyone want to talk to me?" And this voice was recorded. There was blood.
There was blood? Uh-huh. Okay, here we go.
Is anyone here? Do you want to talk to me?
Oh, good Lord. There was blood. At least it's past tense. Now, if that voice had said there will be blood, it wouldn't matter. I mean, you don't hear it until you get home. But if it had said there will be blood, then I guess I'd count myself lucky that I got home at all. Relax for just Barbara. God, that was awful. On Skype, we have Katie. Do you have a good ghost story, Katie?
Yes, sir.
Okay, proceed.
First off, I just want to tell you I love you. And
well,
your family. I pray for y'all all the time. And
all the time. You got to be from the South.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I live on the Arkansas-Louisiana line.
All right. That explains it.
Yep. And I think that ghost on that EVP was saying she didn't turn the air conditioner down. That's why it was so hot in there.
I'd have to listen back for it, but God, it's creepy listening to those voices. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. So one night I had went to sleep and I had this horrible dream that this demon thing was at the end of my bed grabbing my feet trying to pull me off the bed.
Yes.
And I woke up.
Just a dream though, right?
Yes, it started out as a dream.
Oh.
And I woke up and I sat up and I was like, oh goodness. And I felt something on my feet and I was like, I happened to look down there and it was actually really there grabbing my feet and I felt it trying to pull me and I started kicking and I was just like, leave in the name of Jesus, leave in the name of Jesus, because that's what my mama told me to always do if I ever encountered anything.
Sure.
it left. I was like, ooh,
Okay,
Jesus, has to help me.
Yes, when you looked down and you say you saw it, what did you see? Hands or, a whole, what?
I saw this impish looking thing. It might have been like 4.5 feet tall. It had like scaly looking skin. Its hands had pointy nails, and it was grabbing around my ankles and on my feet. It just horrified me.
I completely understand. All right, thank you so very much for that story, I think. Barb, what did you think about that?
Well, that is not a ghost. Whatever she experienced there, that's not a ghost.
No? You would classify that?
That's a different kind of an entity. If she experienced something like that, and that's what she saw, that's a different kind of an entity.
Have you, I'm afraid to even ask, but have you encountered that different kind of entity in your work?
I have not what she described, but I have encountered different kinds of entities before the GIS, just in my upbringing, yes.
That's scary. That's legitimately scary. All right, let's grab one more quick ghost story here from Jazz Monday in Australia. Hello there.
Hi, Art.
Hi.
Scary night.
Scary night indeed.
Yes, so back in '96, my brother was suffering a deep depression, and he hardly ever came out of his room. And one day I found him unresponsive in his bed with an empty bottle of pills and a note. And the paramedics came, they worked on him for what seemed like hours, and at one stage they thought they had lost him, and then they were able to revive him and stabilise him enough to get him to the hospital. Long story short, they did get him to the hospital. He did survive. He's since turned his life around. He's no longer in a deep depression, and he's living overseas with a wife and family. So fast forward to earlier this year, and my sister and I were helping out at my parents' house, and she was putting her son to bed in one of the bedrooms. As she exited the room, she was startled because she thought she saw a solid human figure with its back towards her, who she categorically claims was my brother, because you sort of know the look of someone you've known for all your life when you see them from behind.
Of course.
And she sees him turn and walk into the bedroom, and she knows at that time, like, she called out to him, and I heard her actually call out to him, and like she knew full well at the time that it couldn't have been him because he wasn't there. So she walks down the hallway, turns into the bedroom, and there is nobody there, and no way anyone could have gotten out. So now, you and me, Art, would probably leap to some paranormal explanation, but my sister doesn't come from our world that we come from.
Right.
She didn't graduate from the Art Bell Paranormal Community College, and so she puts it down to sleep deprivation of a new mother. So we go down, she came downstairs to me and my mum with a puzzled look on her face, and I asked her why she called out to Marcus, and she proceeds to tell my mother and I what she just saw, and my mother's face went white as a ghost, pardon the pun. My sister then asked her what's wrong, and my mum proceeds to tell us that she never told anyone this because she didn't want to seem like she was crazy. But one day she was putting linen away in the closet, and she caught something out of the side of her eyes, and long story short, she sees exactly the same thing that my sister did, and called out to him, followed him, and nobody was there. So I didn't witness this, but my mum's expression and the colour draining from her face when my sister relayed the story was just all the proof that I basically need. Now, is that a ghost?
Okay, so we've got two people, Jazz, processing it in very different ways, obviously, according to their own worldview. I guess that's what we do as humans, right?
Oh, definitely. And this was like 10 years apart between my sister seeing it and my mother seeing it. And I don't know what it is. Is it a loop? Is it something that's being replayed over and over? Because my brother's not dead. He was suffering a deep depression, and he spent a lot of time in that room. And we always assume that hauntings are the result of, like, when a death is very sudden, or it's violent, or, there's some kind of unrequited love or something like that. And, depression's a deep, strong emotion.
Oh, yes.
Was that something that was lingering, that emotion is lingering, causing that? Or he actually clinically died in his room while they were reviving him, was perhaps a part of his soul, if you believe in that.
Oh, I do.
Left behind.
I do, Jazz, I do. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Have a good night. So, Barb.
That's a doppelganger.
Is that what it is?
Yes, they saw the ghost of someone who's alive.
Yeah. And projected, Barb, that kind of depression that he described, combined with, near-death experience or a death experience, depending on how you want to look at it, I guess, could project some pretty strong stuff, right?
Well, yes, that could be residual experience that from just the emotion that this young man was going through at that time in his life. Burned something in that room, that atmosphere.
Gotcha. Right, Barb, two questions for you. One I've been waiting to ask, and that is, have you, in the years you've been doing this, gleaned anything at all about the nature of the other side?
I think the nature of the other side depends a lot on that individual's mental state. I think, in fact, I kind of worry about the generation coming up.
Don't we all?
Yeah, how the ghost will be in the future. I mean, there is so much turmoil.
Well, we are the future ghosts. And then as they will then be. One other question, and that is about suicides, Barbara. Have you discerned anything at all about suicides versus natural or even unnatural deaths?
I've known some people that have committed suicide, and their families have all experienced activity. I don't believe their soul and their spirit is at peace after they've died. I think they're still in turmoil.
Wow.
I think the mental state of the person continues.
Okay. All right. Let's do number 15.
All right. This was at an old Western military fort that was established back in the 1800s, and it's still in use today. Barry was in the museum, and which used to be one of the barracks. And he recorded this child's voice. It says, "It's dark in here."
Yeah.
It was not dark in that room at the time. There were still lights on.
Gotcha.
But when we went back to that location and we were talking to the curator of the museum and told him about this child's voice, he informed us that he had just learned a few weeks prior that women and children were kept in the basement of the barracks for their own safety. The women, the wives of soldiers, were referred to as laundresses. And to keep them safe, they lived in the basements of these barracks. Because we were surprised to get a child's voice there on this military base,
I can imagine. Of course, yes. Here we go. Wow. I'm going to have to replay that for you. I think it was quite clear and quite fast, so let me do it again. Oh, that is a little child's voice. There's no question about it. One more time, please. Yeah, that's awful. Obviously it's dark then in a different realm altogether, the other side. And I don't want to think of the other side as dark. Maybe this poor child made a wrong turn, a.k.a. John Lear. I don't know.
So. The curator was quite surprised that we had recorded a child's voice, and he was quite fascinated that we had.
Yes. Yes. All right. One more. And it's number 16, and it's pretty... This has been heard before.
Yes.
But this is the creepiest, the creepy. It really is. Tell us about it.
This is in a cemetery, and it's one of our favorite places to go. We get great EVP out of this cemetery. And we were discussing some ghost pictures that had been developed, and we were looking at them and talking about them. And we recorded this voice. I think that she came to a self-realization of her situation, and she says, "I'm completely dead."
The moment of realization, huh? Okay, here we go.
I'm completely dead.
Okay, so we don't have that one repeated unless I repeat it, and I shall indeed repeat it.
I'm completely dead.
Okay, what's being said is, I'm completely dead, and there's absolutely no mistake about it. One more time.
I'm completely dead.
That's so weird. I mean, it might not have been the instant of recognition that person was dead, but it had not been a long time since that person found out they were dead. That would be my conclusion. Would you agree?
Very, very possible. That cemetery is so active. In fact, one night, I've got to tell you a little ghost story.
Okay, we don't have the time. It'll have to be on the other side.
Okay.
Other side of the other side. Break. The other side. This is Dead Air.
Again, we'll return to them as soon as your musical bumper is concluded.
Sweeps across America. You found an oasis for the mind. To call Midnight in the Desert, please dial 1-952. Call Art. That's 1-952-225-5278.
This one's getting to me. I've got the lights turned down in here. And this is just some pretty freaky stuff, what can I say? And we've got another full hour of it coming up. You're listening to Barbara Macbeth, who's kind of here on and off in between the ghost stories with her own EVPs, the best probably EVPs ever played on the air. Most of these actually never heard ever before on the air. And very disturbing EVPs at that. Back to Barbara. You said you had a bit of a story, Barb.
This is quick, and it's kind of comical.
Sure.
In that cemetery, we would always get cold drinks in a paper cup at a place, and maybe French fries and a hamburger to eat before we'd start our investigation at the cemetery. And Roger had finished his drink, and we were walking down the road, and he tossed his empty cup into a garbage can that was chained to a tree. And the cup came flying back up and arched, and he could have really almost caught it if he would have tried.
Mm-hmm.
It went into the garbage can and came flying back out.
Oh, God. I take it that kind of activity was not frequent, because you just couldn't keep doing this if it was.
We had quite a bit of activity that we witnessed, yes.
Well, then you guys had iron spines. That's what I like to say. All right. let's do one more, and then we'll take a ghost story. So, number 17.
Yeah, 17.
Yeah.
This is a old building where a new age business is now residing. Originally, this building, which a lot of the buildings in our town had brothels upstairs, the main building.
Must have been a long time ago.
Yes, back in, this is a railroad town.
Uh-huh.
And so Barry recorded this voice. He was upstairs, what they called the cribs, where the girls would work, little small rooms. And he was winding up and we were getting ready to leave. And we have the impression that this female ghost kind of liked him. You hear this voice, she says, "Gonna miss you, and I mean it."
Yeah. So I guess, let me just play it. I guess there's humor on the other side. Okay, that's only a single play, so I'm going to have to do it again. So you're listening to this, well, it's a young lady, all right? I'm going to miss you, and I mean it. Can everybody hear that? I'll do it one last time. It was from a brothel, and I guess he made an attachment, so to speak. Here we go. That's funny.
Probably her routine line that she'd give when they'd leave.
Maybe, but once you're on the other side, I guess you don't get to utter too much that people hear, and that's kind of a key. I mean, you're there with electromagnetic pickups and hearing things that other people don't hear, so it makes you wonder, how often does an entity, a ghost, try and communicate unsuccessfully? Probably most of the time.
Probably most of the time.
So the connection from their world to our world is, well, at best, very tenuous. All right, hold tight, Barb. Let's go to Skype and see if Daniel's got a good one for us. Hi, Daniel.
Hey, Art.
Hey.
Hey, I'm so glad to be on because you have combined two of my favorite shows, the EVPs and the Ghost Stories.
Gotcha.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty cool.
So my ghost story starts in 2006. I went to a really small private college in North Georgia, and the ghost legends around there are really sort of famous among the students.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that I always heard, because I was a theater kid, is in our little black box theater was the spirit of Jesse, who was very big into the theater, always played an older role if they needed him, and was supposedly a janitor who died in a car crash.
Right.
And I experienced little things with Jesse, but he really got me one night when it was my first date with the woman who would become my wife.
Oh.
We set up a little TV to watch a movie, and I dragged a couch in, and I was one of like 3 people who had a key to this place after hours.
Mm-hmm.
So we watched our movie, and the thing you have to understand about this black box is, in the middle, it's a wide open space for 2 floors. So when you're in the middle of it, you can see not only the hallway around you,
mm-hmm.
but you can see the hallway up above you with perfect clarity. So we're sitting there talking on the couch. Movie's over. It's dark except for one single light on, ironically called the ghost light. And we're sitting there, and all of a sudden we hear footsteps up above us. And so we look at each other, and we're really freaked out. And we sit there, and Art, I kid you not, up above us, we hear these footsteps go running from one side to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And they sound like boot steps. Very, very loud. Obviously someone there. And Art, we can see it. We can look up there and see every bit of that, and no one is there.
Nobody is there. So as the footsteps go, there's nobody there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So they do this, and we sort of pass it off at first and go back to talking. So then it happens 2, 3 more times until, I kid you not, we're done.
Mm-hmm.
We are we're 2 college kids in the middle of a dark theater, and we say, we're out of here. Screw this. I mean, we're out.
I'd have been out the first time. Maybe the second time. First time, I guess you could put it off to something, but when there are footsteps going right past you that you should be seeing, something attached to them, and you don't, twice would be not nice.
Oh, and it's not just footsteps, man. They are running. They are heavy boots, and they are booking it from one end to the other.
I got you.
And the real punchline to it is that this is maybe January. I graduated months later. So right before I graduated, I talked to the head of the theater department. We're sitting in her office just chatting. And I happened to bring up Jesse because I never truly believed the legend behind him. I'd experienced him. I knew he was there. I totally felt that. But I didn't believe in the legend. Okay. And she goes, oh, no. She said, he wasn't a janitor. And I said, excuse me? I'm floored. She said, oh, I knew Jesse. He wasn't a janitor. He was a cook. He loved the theater. He absolutely adored it. And she goes, actually, and she reaches around and she grabs a picture and she hands me the picture. And there was Jesse. And she absolutely confirmed that not only was Jesse a real man, not only did he love that theater, but that she believed that he was there too. I mean, it sent chills down me.
Thank you so very, very much for the call. And let's go to Santa Rosa, I think, California, on the phone. You're on the air.
Hi, my name's Kathy.
Hi, Kathy.
This took place in Marin. I occasionally am called to help people if they have a disruptive spirit or weird energy in their house. And some people down there had built an add-on to their home in Marin. They added a guest room on the back. And every time somebody stayed in it, they always wound up on the couch in the morning saying that it was freezing in there, that they didn't feel good. It was too cold. There was something wrong with their air conditioning, and sometimes it looked cloudy in there. So they would always wind up kind of afraid sleeping on the couch. And they didn't deal with it too much because they didn't use it to sleep in themselves. But then one day they decided they were redoing their house, and they were varnished a mantle over the fireplace. And when they woke up in the morning, there was a little child's footprints in the varnish going across the top of the mantle, and they didn't have any kids. So they got a little freaked out about that, and they decided they knew someone who knew me, and they just said, would you just come over and take a look at this, what's going on in our house, kind of an energy feng shui, I suppose.
Sure.
And I went there with a couple of friends, and I have some abilities to do this, so we walked into the room, we opened the door, and it was like walking into a refrigerator. It was really, really cold. I mean, they said it's never been this bad, and we could see kind of a hazy, almost just a lightly milky cloud right in the middle of the room, and it happened to be just right where the bed was. And I went and I said, well, let's just stop for a moment and take a breath. And I said, hello, who are you? Is there someone there?
Yes.
Who are you? And it moved toward me, and no one else could hear this, but I heard it right next to my ear. It said, mother. I'm looking for my mother.
Oh.
I kind of got a little, well, okay, this is intense. So I said, what happened to you? And I saw a picture of a swimming pool. And they also had mentioned to me that occasionally they found piles of little bits of water in the floor.
Really?
In that room. And there was actually some dampness on the floor when we were there. So we actually walked out of the room because it was really intense, and we were having a little bit of a hard time with it.
You actually saw water on the floor, little water?
There was little, damp piles of water, just like 3 or 4 of them leading out the door.
I still know where this is going. Yeah, I'm afraid.
Well, they had actually had the plumber come and check. They had the air conditioning check. They thought there was something wrong with the house.
Right.
So I sat down and I asked them, have you ever had a swimming pool in the backyard? And they said, no, there's never been a pool there. And I said, are you sure? They said, well, we can call our next door neighbor. They had someone who'd lived there for 50 years. They gave her a call while I was there, and she said, well, yeah, some 10 years ago there was a swimming pool there, and the people who lived there, their 3-year-old daughter had drowned in the pool.
Oh, my God, I knew it, yeah.
And what has happened is that the father he blamed the mother, and he was so livid, he literally showed up with bulldozers, I guess, and bulldozed the pool and filled it with earth. And they moved out. And 2 years later, the mother evidently, who had never gotten over it, died in a car accident. It was a single car accident. There was some speculation that she had killed herself. And the little girl was, so as they told me this, I said to the little girl spiritually, just telepathically, can I help you? And she said again, I will need to find my mother. And I did a few things that I know how to do in terms of assisting spirits to move on, and reconnected her to let her know she didn't have to stay there. And I did manage to reconnect her with her mother and help them both move on.
That poor little girl. Do you have any, I mean, we hear, with these EVPs, we hear so many children Do you have any clue? I'm going to go back and ask Barbara again, but I mean, we adults, we somehow think that if a child like that drowns in a pool, they're not going to some nether region where there is nothing or darkness or cold or whatever. They're going directly to heaven without passing go, but it doesn't seem that way. Where was that child trapped?
She was trapped in the anger between her parents. They didn't let go of her, and she was actually trying to heal her mother. One of the reasons she didn't leave was because she was really in pain about the fact that her mother literally disappeared spiritually. She just went kind of in such deep depression, and the entire family was destroyed. And on some level, the little girl was still trying to find them and heal it so she could move on and finish the cycle with them. And it was a very, very painful thing. We were all very sad when we got done, but uplifted because we actually were able to assist them. And
that's a whale of a story. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Take care. It's hard. This thing with kids is really hard for me. The adults, well, you can imagine all kinds of long lives lived, right? In error or sin or however you want to look at it, and they're being trapped, but not children. So there must be many things that we truly do not understand about what we call the other side. Here once again is Barbara Macbeth. Hi, Barbara. Boy, that was some story, huh?
Yes, it was.
She actually got into a dialogue with a little 3-year-old. My goodness.
And hopefully the people that live in that house have never experienced her again. She has moved on, hopefully. It'd be interesting to know.
When I asked you about tell us something about the other side, you really can't. I do understand that. But you do believe, right, that this is some sort of, I don't know, middle area before you go on to wherever your final destination, I'm not trying to spit out movie titles here, is?
Well, you're getting into theology.
Yeah, a bit.
I just believe that we continue on. I believe that it's a learning process, that this is just one of the lessons, life's lessons here, and we continue on.
Number 18.
All right, you're going to hear Brendan and Barry. We were investigating a mortuary, and Barry recorded this. And you'll hear Barry say to Brendan, "I hope there's no bodies down there."
Mm-hmm.
And this voice tells him to talk to the dead.
Talk to the dead.
And there was several bodies down there. We didn't know it. There was a couple of us that went down in the basement, and there was probably about 9 bodies on slabs in this room.
On slabs?
Yeah.
All right, here you go. Hey, that was very fast. Let me try and do it again here. Many of these earlier times were repeated. Let me try it again. Okay, that's a little hard for me to hear, so I'm going to do it one more time and see if I can hear it. Yep, talk to the dead. That's what it is. Talk to the dead. That time I got it clearly. These old ears are trying. All right, so yes, there it was. Talk to the dead. And now I'm, in view of the discussion we just had, let's push on to number 19.
All right, this was recorded in a cemetery, and I think we've played this one on your show before, but you're going to hear wind blowing and a baby crying throughout the whole time. It was after midnight, and there was absolutely no children around, and the EVP is not looped. This whole crying episode is just what was recorded.
Okay. you see, it doesn't seem. My God, that was awful. I mean, how could a infant, a baby, be caught on the other side? That's awful.
Yes, and some people think they hear it laughing. It depends
Really?
on how you hear it.
Really? Laughing? That would be nicer. Let me try again. Hold on. Thank you, Barbara. It's either the power of suggestion, or I'm not really sure, but it does indeed. Thank you, sound like laughing. So, it was written, it helps me a lot. You'll never know. It says baby crying, and I thought, oh God, baby crying, not good. And when you made that suggestion, maybe it's just the power of the mind. Honestly, don't know, but amazing stuff. All right, let's go to Skype briefly and say hello to Brian.
Hey, Art, how's it going?
Well, it's a pretty wild night, Brian, as you can hear.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, so are you going to, first of all, turn off your device, please?
Is that better?
Yeah, it needs to be off. And if you have a ghost story for us, proceed.
All right, this actually has to do with a listener that calls into you a few times, Jack W. He's a good friend of mine. He took me into a cemetery near us, and we decided to take a mirror in there one time, and it was not a good thing, we found out, because it actually got extremely hot in my hands.
The mirror did?
Yes, it did. And then pretty much every time after that, I've been in that cemetery 2 or 3 more times, and every time I've been in there, I've had a really difficult time breathing every time.
Breathing?
Yeah.
Well, there are weird things in the paranormal world with mirrors, scrying and such. It's mirrors are strange in a way, huh?
Yes, they are.
I appreciate your story. It was short and quick. The way to do it. Thank you very much. So, what do you all think about that? I'm kind of glad that he brought it up. Barbara, mirrors. Are you aware of anything with regard to mirrors that is strange, unusual, paranormal?
Yes. Mirrors, to me, are weird. There's a lot of, there's some cultures, I don't know if they still do it, but I know they used to do it when a person would die.
Yes.
They put mirrors up because the dead supposedly does not like seeing themselves.
Huh. You think the dead can see themselves?
I don't know. I don't know. I just know that has been a procedure of certain cultures in the past.
I see.
Brendan experienced seeing that child in the mortician's house. It looked like his neck was broke. It wasn't fitting right. Brendan saw his reflection in the mirror.
Gosh, no thanks. That's horrible. All right, Barb. Hold on. I'm going to I'll put you on hold and venture forth. We've been getting quite the night tonight. Lake Charles, Louisiana, I do believe. Hello.
Art, thank you for replaying the baby, because I'm sitting here and I had chill bumps.
Do you kind of agree? I mean, when you first hear it, you go, oh, God, a baby. But then when you listen closely, she's right. I think it's laughing.
It got better. I want to think it was laughing.
Okay.
This is Michael. So I've lived in Lake Charles, born and raised here, but in 2004 I moved to Alaska to be a youth pastor for a church.
Oh.
I was living in Seward, and was invited to come and speak at a church in Fairbanks.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a 9-hour drive from the south. Not used to. Got there in January. This was in February. I took out on this trip by myself and had been given tips, and this is where you want to stop, this is where you don't want to stop, gas is real expensive here, things like that. Yes. So I got out of just north of Anchorage, north of Wasilla, and up in that part of the country, the people that I had been with had stopped and picked up hitchhikers, and they just said it's just kind of a thing. You don't really do it in Louisiana, but here it's life and death. If you see somebody on the road, they're probably not going to. So I saw a man walking north on the road, and I pulled over. Mm-hmm. He got in the truck, and I remember distinctly he had a kind of a little bit of a body odor smell. He smelled like a campfire. He was unshaven. His name, he told me, was Alex. He spoke with a Russian accent, and he said he was a mountain climber, and he said his favorite place on earth was the top of Mount Everest, and that he was in Alaska to climb Mount McKinley. So he was on his way to Denali Park. He rode with me in the car for about 2.5 hours, asking me about why I was there, about my calling that I felt on my life and feel on my life, discussed those types of things with me, gave me tips about driving into ice, and told me not to do things that would have caused error. Right. And we came to a town called Trapper Creek. I don't know if you're familiar. And I was not going to get gas there. It was one of the places I was told the prices will kill you there. And he said, you'll want to stop here because the weather is too bad. Denali is the part where I was planning to stop. They're going to be closed. And so I said, okay. And he'd been in the car for 2.5 hours. We talked extensively about Everest and his plan to see the top of Mount McKinley. Well, we stopped. I got out, started fueling the car. He grabbed his small backpack that he had, I saw him walk into the gas station, a little junction station, had a little cafe in it. He walked through the doors. When I finished filling up, I went in to use the restroom and pay and grab a bite. And I asked the clerk, I said, where's the man that just walked in? And she looked at me and said, you're the only one who's been here for hours. Mm-hmm. And I said, no, a man just walked through these doors. We spent 20 minutes walking around the back of the building. We followed the tracks back to the 2 sets of tracks back to the truck. He was nowhere to be found. There was icy wetness where he had been sitting in the truck. Really? The truck still smelled like him. So at that point, I've chalked it up to, was it a ghost? Was it an angel? I don't know I wouldn't have had enough gas when I got to Denali. That gas station was indeed closed.
Well, here's what I'll say. It may be that living on the other side, as he may have been doing, he could spend time on Everest, because I can assure you the average human being can't breathe at the top of Everest. Not for long. There are a few who claim they've tried. But the fact of the matter is, there is not enough oxygen up there to support a human being, and frequently the stay on Everest is not somewhere. Look, put it this way: it's not a place you lollygag around at all. You get there, and then you get down, if you can, as fast as you can. Okay, let's go back.
Okay, with that, we're actually going to have to leave Art for the night. We will pick him up tomorrow night with the finale. Till then, please make sure you do like, share, and subscribe. Get us to those goals of 5,000 viewers, 1,000 subscribers. So both Boxing Extras and YouTube pay attention. CoinBase and Ibotta are below. Fill them out to get their free items. And until tomorrow, may your fights in Dominion be awesome. Like, share, and subscribe. Be kind to one another anywhere in the world you may be. And come on back with us as we continue to march on here from day one. Have a good night and try to get a great night's sleep.